Taeyang Choi moved through the Queen ship's corridors with 3 Marines still standing beside him. Behind them lay a trail of destruction and bodies, both human and Krell. His armor was scorched and cracked. His left arm hung useless at his side, broken in the last firefight, but his right hand still held his rifle steady. "One more door," he said, his voice harsh through the damaged communicator. "The Queen's chamber is just ahead." The Krell threw everything at them. Elite warriors, 3 meters tall with armor like tank plating, automated weapon systems, biological weapons that would have killed any other species instantly, but humans had evolved on a planet trying to murder them every day. They had survived by being tougher, meaner, and more stubborn than anything else. The Marines broke through the final door. Inside, the Queen sat on a throne of organic material, surrounded by her personal guard. She was massive, easily 5 meters tall. Her body adapted for commanding rather than fighting, but her guards were the deadliest warriors the Krell could produce. The battle was brutal and short. The Marines fought with everything they had, but they were already wounded, exhausted, running on nothing but will. One by one they fell, until only Taeyang remained. He stood facing the Queen's last guard, his rifle empty, his body broken. The Krell warrior advanced, mandibles clicking in what might have been laughter. It was bigger, stronger, fresh, and uninjured. Taeyang smiled. Then he dropped his rifle and drew his knife. What happened next would be recorded in Krell nightmares for generations. The human moved like nothing they had ever seen, like violence given form. He was already dying, but he refused to fall until his mission was complete. The knife flashed. The guard died. Taeyang stumbled toward the Queen, each step in agony. She tried to call for more guards, but he had already planted the charges throughout the ship. He activated the timer. 30 seconds, Captain, he said into his communicator. Mission complete. Get out of here. Taeyang, wait, we're coming for you. No time, sir. It's been an honor. He looked at the Queen, who stared at him with alien eyes full of hate and fear. You picked the wrong species to hunt. The last thing Taeyang Choi saw was the timer reaching 0. The Queen ship exploded in a flash of light that outshone the system's star for a brief moment. The blast wave expanded outward, destroying everything nearby. On the Indomitable's bridge, the crew watched in silence as their tactical display showed the Queen ship's destruction, and with it the death of one of their own. Taeyang, Jinwoo whispered. Then louder, all ships, emergency jump. Get us out of here. The 5 remaining human vessels jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the Krell system behind. Around them, the Krell fleet was already falling into chaos. Without the Queen's coordinating presence, individual commanders began arguing, fighting for dominance. The unified military machine was breaking apart. The human ships emerged at the edge of Valara Prime's system. They were beaten, broken, and barely functional. 7 ships had left Earth, 5 returned. The casualties were devastating. Over 60% of the strike force dead or critically wounded. But they had completed the mission. At Valara Prime, the 4 defending ships were facing their own battle. The Krell Armada had arrived as predicted, 300 warships strong. For hours they had held the line, using every trick and tactic they knew to keep the aliens away from the planet. When news of the Queen ship's destruction reached the Armada, everything changed. The Krell forces suddenly lost coordination. Ships stopped responding to commands. Some retreated. Others attacked each other as commanders fought to fill the power vacuum. The human defenders pressed their advantage, driving the confused aliens back. Within hours, the Krell were fleeing the system entirely. The Valerians emerged from their shelters to find their world saved. The Krell were gone. The humans had done the impossible. Elder Thelnak stood with Captain Jinwoo on the Indomitable's bridge. The ship was a wreck, barely holding together. But it had survived. Your friend, Thelnak said quietly. Taeyang. He sacrificed himself for people he barely knew. He did his duty, Jinwoo replied, his voice tight. He saved millions of lives, not just Valerians. The Krell would have kept expanding, kept killing. He stopped them. At such a cost, war always costs. But sometimes you pay the price because the alternative is worse. Dr. Yuna Shin was in the medical bay treating the wounded. She had been working for days without rest, moving from patient to patient. Human and Valerian both received her care with the same fierce dedication. Some she saved, some she couldn't. Each loss hurt, but she kept working. Hana Park surveyed the damage to the fleet. It would take months to repair, maybe longer. But the ships had survived. Against impossible odds through battles that should have destroyed them, Earth's Predator fleet had survived. Minho Lee was already planning the journey home. Earth needed to know what had happened. The galaxy needed to understand that humanity had arrived. Jisoo Han was working on something different. She was analyzing all the data they'd collected about galactic civilizations. The patterns she found disturbed her. "Captain, you should see this," she said. Jinwoo came to her station. She brought up a map of known space highlighting different regions. "These are all civilizations that were destroyed by aggressive species in the last 50 years, she explained. 19 of them. And here?" She highlighted different locations. "These are civilizations that had the military power to intervene. They all chose not to, because they were afraid of getting involved. Or because they didn't care. Captain, the galaxy isn't like Earth. On our world, nations have learned to work together at least sometimes. Out here, every species is isolated. They only care about their own survival. Then maybe it's time someone changed that." Over the next days, something remarkable happened. Other species began arriving at Valara Prime, not to fight but to talk. They had been watching the battle from a distance. They had seen what humanity did with just 12 ships, and they wanted to be on the same side as the Deathworlders. Delegations arrived from a dozen different civilizations. Some were peaceful species like the Valerians looking for protection. Others were military powers who wanted allies with human capabilities. All of them had the same question: would Earth be willing to help defend the galaxy? Jinwoo found himself in an unexpected role, negotiating with aliens on behalf of his entire species. He was just a captain, not a diplomat, but he understood what was happening. Humanity had a choice to make about what kind of galactic power they would be. "We didn't come out here to conquer," he told the assembled delegates. "We came because someone asked for help. That's what we do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. And in return," one delegate asked, "in return, you work with us. Share your knowledge, your technology, your cultures. We're new to space. We have a lot to learn, but we're willing to be part of something bigger than ourselves." The new galactic coalition was formed in the ruins of Valara Prime. 27 species signed the initial charter. More would join in the months to come. It wasn't like the old Galactic Union, which collapsed because members couldn't agree on common action. This coalition was built around a simple principle: the strong protect the weak, and humanity, the species from the death world that everyone feared, became the coalition's defenders. The Predator fleet returned to Earth as heroes. But Jinwoo knew the work was just beginning. The Krell were broken but not destroyed. Other threats existed in the galaxy, and humanity had made itself visible to all of them. In his quarters, Jinwoo kept a picture of his crew. All of them, including those who didn't come home. Taeyang Choi smiled at the camera. "Forever young, forever brave. We kept our promise," Jinwoo said to the image. "We helped them, and we're going to keep helping them." Dr. Yuna was working with Valerian medical experts, sharing techniques and learning from each other. Despite their physical differences, they found common ground in their dedication to healing. Hana was knee-deep in alien engineering systems, her eyes wide with excitement. The galaxy had technology Earth had never dreamed of, and Earth had innovations the galaxy had never considered. Together, they would build something new. Minho was training alien navigators in human techniques. They struggled with the instinctive, reactive style of flying that came naturally to Deathworlders. But slowly they learned. Jisoo was Earth's first official ambassador to the galactic community. She worked tirelessly to build bridges between humanity and the hundreds of other species out there. It wasn't easy. Many species still feared humans, but fear was slowly being replaced by respect. 6 months after the battle at Valara Prime, Elder Thelnax stood before the Coalition Assembly. He had been asked to speak about humanity's role in saving his people. "When I sent that distress call," he said, "I didn't expect an answer. The galaxy has learned to ignore such calls. We've learned that in the face of aggression, most species look away, but the humans didn't look away. They came to help strangers at great cost to themselves. They fought battles they shouldn't have won. They sacrificed their own people to save ours." He paused, looking around the chamber at representatives from dozens of worlds. "I was terrified when I first met them. They're from a death world. They're predators. But I learned something important. Yes, they're dangerous. The journey into Krell space required passing through a region that galactic charts marked as impassable. The Maelstrom, they called it. A section of space where gravity wells from collapsing stars created chaotic patterns that destroyed any ship trying to navigate through. Every civilized species avoided it. But humans weren't civilized by galactic standards. "This is insane," Hannah Park said, watching the sensor readings. Space itself was twisted ahead of them, gravity pulling in a dozen different directions at once. "The stresses on our hull will be extreme. Can we survive it?" Jinwoo asked. "Maybe, if we're lucky, and if I can keep the engines balanced perfectly while Minho flies us through impossible conditions." Minho Lee studied the chaos ahead. To most navigators, it would look like certain death. But Minho had grown up watching Earth's hurricanes, had trained in simulators that taught him to fly through the worst weather imaginable. This was just another storm. "I can do it," he said quietly. "It'll be rough, but I can get us through." "Then we go," Jinwoo decided. "The Krell won't expect anyone to use this route. It'll put us exactly where we need to be." The 8 human ships entered the Maelstrom. Immediately, everything went wrong in exactly the ways Hannah had predicted. The ship bucked and twisted as competing gravity wells tried to tear it apart. Alarms blared. Systems overloaded. The crew grabbed onto anything they could as the vessel lurched violently. Minho's hands moved across the controls with impossible speed. He wasn't thinking anymore, just reacting. His brain processed the chaos and found patterns, threading the needle through spaces that shouldn't exist. The ship dove, rolled, and twisted through the storm. In engineering, Hannah worked miracles. She rerouted power, balanced loads, and kept the engines running when they should have exploded. Sweat poured down her face as she made calculations faster than the computers could. "Hull stress at 90%, someone shouted. "Keep it together," Hannah growled at her ship, her hands flying over the controls. "You're not breaking apart on me." Dr. Yuna Shin moved through the medical bay, treating crew members injured by the violent maneuvers. Broken bones, concussions, severe bruising. She worked with calm efficiency, moving from patient to patient even as the ship continued to shake. The journey through the Maelstrom took 6 hours. When they finally emerged on the other side, half the crew was injured and every ship was damaged. But they had made it. They were deep in Krell territory, 50 light-years behind enemy lines. "All ships report in," Jinwoo ordered. One by one, the ships confirmed they were intact. Beaten up but functional, they had accomplished the impossible, just as humans always seem to. "Captain, I'm picking up Krell communications," Jisoo Han reported. "They're everywhere. Hundreds of ships, multiple battle groups. We're in the middle of their empire." "Good. Now let's find that queen ship." They moved carefully through Krell space, their stealth systems working overtime. Human ships designed to avoid detection from Earth's sophisticated sensors were nearly invisible to Krell technology. They slipped past patrol groups, avoided trade routes, and slowly made their way deeper. Jisoo worked on intercepting Krell communications. The insectoid language was complex, but human translation algorithms were good at finding patterns. She began to understand their military structure, their deployment patterns. "I've got something," she said after hours of work. "References to the Queen's coordinates. It's heavily encrypted, but I think I can break it." "How long?" "Give me 12 hours. While Jisoo worked on the encryption, the rest of the fleet prepared for what was coming. Taeyang Choi drilled his Marines constantly. They practiced boarding actions, close combat, and emergency procedures. Every second of training might mean the difference between success and failure. Hannah pushed the ship's systems to their limits, finding every bit of extra performance she could squeeze out. The engines could go faster. The shields could take more punishment. The weapons could fire more accurately. It would all be needed. Jinwoo spent his time studying Krell tactics from the data they'd captured. The Krell were strong, numerous, and well-coordinated. But they were also predictable. They followed established patterns, trusted in their overwhelming numbers. They had never faced an enemy that could think creatively, that could adapt faster than they could respond. "Captain, I've got it," Jisoo finally announced. "The Queen ship's location." "It's at coordinates." She paused, her face going pale. "Oh no, what is it?" "The Queen ship is at the Krell home system, surrounded by their entire defense fleet. Captain, there are over 500 warships protecting that location, and that's not counting the planetary defenses, the automated weapons platforms, the fighter squadrons." The bridge was silent. 500 ships, against 8. "Well," Taeyang said calmly, At least we know where the target is. Jinwoo looked at his crew. They should be terrified. They should be demanding he turn back. Instead, they were checking their systems, preparing for battle. Because they were humans from Earth and they had faced impossible odds before. Here's what we're going to do, Jinwoo began. We can't fight 500 ships directly. But we don't have to. We just need to get past them and reach the Queen ship. That's still impossible, someone pointed out. Only if we play by their rules. Jisoo, can you hack their communication networks? Already working on it, Captain. I can inject false orders, create confusion. Hana, can we rig captured Krell transponders to make our ships look like friendly forces? It'll fool them for maybe 10 minutes. After that, they'll figure it out. 10 minutes is all we need. Minho, plot the fastest possible course from the system edge to the Queen ship's coordinates. Straight through the middle of their fleet. No evasion, no tricks. Just speed. Exactly. We go in fast. Hit them before they realize what's happening and complete the mission before they can respond. And getting out? Dr. Yuna asked. Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. Let's focus on completing the mission first. They all understood what he wasn't saying. This was likely one way. But no one argued. They had all volunteered knowing the risks. The human fleet moved to the edge of the Krell home system. Jisoo activated the false transponders and began flooding the Krell network with fake communications. Reports of attacks in other systems, emergency calls for reinforcements, orders to reposition fleets. Chaos spread through the Krell forces. Ships began moving to respond to threats that didn't exist. Formation broke apart as commanders tried to follow contradictory orders. Now, Jinwoo commanded. The 8 human ships accelerated to maximum speed and dove into the system. They moved so fast that Krell sensors barely registered them before they were passed. The false transponders made them look like friendly units responding to the emergency. By the time the Krell realized the deception, the human fleet was already halfway to the Queen ship. Then all hell broke loose. Hundreds of Krell warships converged on their position. Weapons fire filled space. The humans dodged and weaved, their pilots pushing their ships past every safety limit. They took hits, shields flaring and failing, armor burning away. But they kept moving forward. 2 ships down, someone reported. Severe damage falling behind. Keep going, Jinwoo ordered, hating himself for it. We can't stop. The Queen ship loomed ahead, a massive vessel 3 times the size of anything else in the system. It was surrounded by elite guard ships, the best the Krell had. Taeyang, you're up. Get aboard that ship and plant the charges. On my way, Captain. Taeyang and his Marines boarded assault shuttles and launched toward the Queen ship. Krell fighters swarmed them, but human point defense systems cut them down. The shuttles took damage, losing crew, but kept flying. On the bridge, Minho piloted the Indomitable through weapons fire that should have been impossible to survive. His reflexes were beyond human, pushed by adrenaline and desperate need. He made the ship dance. Hana diverted every bit of power she could to shields. Life support dropped to minimal. Gravity fluctuated. The temperature plunged, but the shields held. Dr. Yuna treated wounded crew members while the ship shook around her. She worked in near darkness with barely any oxygen, her hands steady despite everything. Jisoo kept hacking, disrupting Krell communications, making their response slower and more confused. Every second she bought was another second closer to completing the mission. The assault shuttles reached the Queen ship. Taeyang was first through the breach, his rifle blazing. The Krell guards were bigger, stronger, more numerous. It didn't matter. The humans moved through them like death itself, unstoppable and merciless. They fought through corridors, losing Marines with every meter. Blood, both human and alien, covered the walls. But they kept moving, kept advancing toward the ship's core where the Queen directed her empire. Almost there, Taeyang reported, his voice strained. 2 more sections. On the Indomitable, systems were failing. The ship was dying. 3 more human vessels were destroyed, their crews lost. But the remaining ships held the line, keeping the Krell busy while Taeyang completed the mission. Captain, we can't take much more, Hana warned. The engines are going to explode. Just a little longer, Jinwoo said, watching the tactical display. Come on, Taeyang. Finish it. The Valerian survivors emerged from their underground shelters slowly, afraid that the nightmare above had not ended. Many expected to see more Krell warriors hunting through the ruins. Instead, they found something they couldn't understand. Humans' Elder Thelnax was among the first to meet them. He climbed from the shelter beneath the old archives and found human soldiers securing the area. They moved with purpose and efficiency, their weapons ready but not threatening. When they saw the Valerians, the soldiers immediately called for medical assistance. Dr. Yuna Shin arrived within minutes. She approached Thelnax carefully, her medical scanner already working. The device showed her that the elder was injured, bleeding from wounds caused by falling debris. In Valerian biology, such injuries were potentially fatal. "Don't move," Yuna said gently. Ji Suhan stood beside her, translating in real time. "You're hurt. Let me help." Thelnax stared at the human doctor. She was small compared to the soldiers, but there was something in her eyes. A fierce determination that reminded him of the warriors who had destroyed the Krell fleet. Yet her hands were gentle as she treated his wounds. "You came," Thelnax whispered. "I sent the message, but I never thought anyone would answer." "We heard you," Yuna replied, working quickly. "And we came as fast as we could." Around them, more humans were arriving. They set up medical stations, distributed supplies, and began clearing debris. The Valerians watched in confusion. These were the same beings who had torn through Krell warships like they were made of paper. These were the monsters from the Deathworld that all galactic databases marked with dire warnings. But they were also gently carrying injured Valerians to safety, sharing their food and working tirelessly to help. Captain Jinwoo Kang walked through the ruins with Taeyang Choi beside him. The destruction was total. Entire cities were flattened. Millions were dead. The Krell had been thorough in their genocide. "This shouldn't have happened," Jinwoo said quietly. "Where was the rest of the galaxy? Why didn't anyone else come?" "Because they're afraid of the Krell," Taeyang replied. "Or they don't care. Maybe both." They found Thelnax near the medical station. The elder was recovering, his wounds treated with human medicine that worked surprisingly well on Valerian biology. He looked up as Jinwoo approached. "You're the leader," Thelnax said. It wasn't a question. "Captain Jinwoo Kang of Earth." He offered his hand, then realized the Valerian might not understand the gesture. "I'm sorry we didn't arrive sooner. You came at all. That's more than anyone else did." Thelnax gestured for them to follow him. "There's something you should see. Something you should understand about the galaxy you've just entered." He led them to the archives, one of the few structures still standing. Inside, protected by layers of shielding, were the historical records of the Valerian people. But Thelnax brought up a different database, one that showed star charts of the surrounding space. "This is our region of the galaxy," the elder explained. 47 star systems. 19 of them once held civilizations like ours. Peaceful species, traders, artists, philosophers. Over the past 10 years, the Krell have destroyed them all. We're the last. Jinwoo studied the map. "Your distress call went to all these systems?" "Yes, and to dozens of others beyond. Military powers that could have stopped the Krell. Trading empires with vast fleets. None of them came. They all chose to look away." Taeyang's jaw tightened. "Because they're cowards." "Because they're rational," Thelnax corrected gently. "The Krell are powerful. Fighting them means risking your own civilization. Most species in the galaxy will do terrible things or allow terrible things to ensure their own survival." He looked at the humans with his 3 eyes. "What you did today is not rational. You risked everything to help strangers." "Why?" Jinwoo was quiet for a moment. "On Earth we have a lot of nations, a lot of different cultures. We've fought each other for thousands of years. But we also learned something important. Sometimes you have to stand up for what's right, even when it's dangerous, even when it costs you everything. Your world sounds violent, it is, but it also taught us that the strong should protect the weak. That power comes with responsibility." Jinwoo met the elder's gaze. "You asked for help. How could we do anything else?" Over the next days, the two species learned about each other. The humans discovered that Valerian civilization was old, refined, and utterly unprepared for violence. They had never developed weapons because they never needed them. Their world was gentle, with no large predators, no violent weather, and no resource scarcity that might drive conflict. The Valerians learned about Earth, and what they heard terrified them. A world where everything was trying to kill you. Earthquakes that could destroy cities, storms that could level forests, predators that hunted in packs, diseases that wiped out millions, and through it all, humans survived by becoming the most effective predators on their entire planet. Your species climbed to the top of your food chain, Thelnax said to Jinwoo one evening. But you never stopped thinking like prey. You still have those instincts, that constant awareness of danger. It's kept us alive, Jinwoo agreed. On Earth, if you're not alert, you die. And now you've brought that mentality to the stars. We brought the ability to protect people who need protecting. Hana Park was working in the ruins of a Valerian power station when she made a discovery. The Krell hadn't just destroyed the facility. They had left surveillance equipment behind. She brought it back to the Indomitable for analysis. What she found made everyone's blood run cold. They've been watching this system for months, Hana reported to Jinwoo. Planning, recording, and Captain, they transmitted everything back to their empire. The Krell High Command knows about us now. They know what we did to their fleet. How long until they respond? Based on their communication speeds and the distance to their nearest stronghold, I'd estimate 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Minho Lee pulled up tactical projections. They won't make the same mistakes twice. They'll come in force, ready for a real fight. How many ships are we talking about? Jinwoo asked. Best guess, based on Krell military doctrine? At least 300. The bridge was silent. 300 ships against 12. Even with human advantages, those odds were impossible. We need to evacuate, Dr. Yuna said. Get the Valerians to safety, fall back to Earth, and warn the United Earth Council. And leave this system to the Krell? Taeyang shook his head. They'll just come after the next peaceful species. And the next. Someone has to stop them. We can't fight 300 ships, Hana pointed out. No, Jinwoo agreed. But maybe we don't have to. He brought up the data Taeyang had recovered from the Krell command ship. Detailed information about Krell military structure, communication systems, and command hierarchy. And there, buried in the data, was something interesting. They have a hive mind, Jinwoo explained. Not completely, but their military coordination comes from a central source. A queen ship that directs their entire fleet. If we could take that out, the whole invasion force would collapse, Taeyang finished. But that queen ship will be deep in Krell territory, protected by their entire military. Probably, Jinwoo admitted. But it's a target. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's finding ways to hit targets everyone says are impossible. Over the next days, they prepared. The human fleet was divided. 4 ships would stay at Valara Prime to defend and evacuate as many Valerians as possible. 8 ships, including the Indomitable, would launch a deep strike into Krell territory. It was madness. It was suicide. But it was also the only chance they had. Thelnax found Jinwoo before the departure. You're really going to do this? Attack the Krell in their own territory? We don't have a choice. If we don't stop them now, they'll come back stronger. And next time they'll be ready for us. You could run. Take your ships back to your homeworld. You've done more than anyone could expect. Jinwoo looked at the Valerian elder. We didn't come here to do what was expected. We came to do what was right. The strike force prepared to launch. Volunteers only, though every single crew member stepped forward. They knew it was likely a one-way trip. They went anyway. As the 8 ships powered up their engines, Dr. Yuna treated the last of the wounded. Hana ran final checks on systems that would be pushed past their limits. Minho plotted a course through space no one had mapped. Jisoo prepared to hack into alien communication networks, and Taeyang Choi sharpened his combat knife. A simple ritual before battle. Captain Jinwoo Kang stood on his bridge and looked at his crew. They were scared. They should be. But they were also ready. All hands, this is the captain. In a few minutes, we're going to jump into Krell space. We're going to find their queen ship and destroy it. The odds are bad, but humans have never let that stop us before. We're Deathworlders. We survived everything our own planet could throw at us. Now let's show this galaxy what that really means. The 8 ships jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing into the void. Behind them, 4 human ships remained at Valara Prime, preparing for the Krell armada that would surely come. And across the galaxy, on 100 different worlds, sensors registered the movement. The Deathworlders were on the move again, and this time they were hunting. The journey took 18 days. 18 days of traveling faster than light through space that no human had ever seen before. 18 days of checking weapons, running drills, and wondering what they would find. Captain Jinwoo Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the stars streak past on the view screen. He was 42 years old, decorated veteran of Earth's resource wars and now commander of humanity's first deep space military operation. The weight of that responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders. Captain, we're approaching the edge of the Valara system, Minho Lee announced from the navigation station. His fingers moved quickly across the controls, adjusting their approach vector. Dropping to sublight speed in 3 minutes, Jinwoo nodded. All ships, battle stations. Weapons free, shields to maximum. Hana, how are the engines? Running perfect, Captain, Hana Park replied from engineering. She had spent the entire journey fine-tuning every system, preparing for combat. We can push them to 130% if needed. Maybe higher, but I wouldn't recommend it. Let's hope we don't need it. Jinwoo activated the fleet-wide channel. All ships, this is Kang. We don't know what we're flying into. Stay tight, watch each other's backs, and remember why we're here. Those people asked for help. We're going to give it to them. The 12 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Valara system. Immediately, sensors began painting a picture of the situation. And it was worse than anyone had imagined. My God, Jisuhan whispered. The planet was surrounded by Krell warships, dozens of them, each one massive and bristling with weapons. On the surface, fires burned across entire continents. Orbital scans showed energy weapons firing systematically at population centers. They're exterminating them, Dr. Yuna Shin said from her station. Her medical training let her recognize a massacre when she saw one. This isn't occupation, it's genocide. Taeyang Choi checked his combat systems. The former Special Forces operative had seen war before, but this was different. This was industrial-scale murder. Captain, recommend immediate attack. Every minute we wait, more civilians die. Jinwoo studied the tactical display. 47 Krell warships, 12 human ships. By conventional military logic, this was suicide. The smart move would be to retreat, call for reinforcements, develop a strategy. But there was no time for smart moves. All ships, attack formation Delta. Target the vessels closest to the planet. We punch through, clear a path, and see if we can get rescue teams to the surface. Captain, they're hailing us, Jisoo reported. She listened to the transmission. Her translation algorithm's working. It's a standard surrender demand. They're saying we should retreat or be destroyed. Let me guess, Hana said from engineering. They think 12 ships can't possibly be a threat? That's exactly what they think, Jisoo confirmed. Jinwoo allowed himself a cold smile. Then let's educate them. All ships weapons free, fire at will. The human fleet accelerated toward the Krell line. The alien ships moved to intercept, their formations smooth and coordinated. They fired first, massive plasma cannons that could vaporize an asteroid. The human ships shrugged off the impacts. Their shields, designed to withstand Earth's violent radiation belts and orbital debris traveling at orbital velocities, handled the Krell weapons with ease. The few shots that got through struck armor designed to survive re-entry through thick atmospheres. The Krell didn't know about Earth, they didn't know about the crushing gravity that gave humans strong bones and powerful muscles. They didn't know about the thick atmosphere that taught human engineers to build strong ships. They didn't know about the violent weather that made humans expert at dealing with chaos. The human ships opened fire. Krell vessels died. Railguns developed to shoot down hypersonic missiles through Earth's atmosphere, tore through alien armor like paper. Missiles that could track and destroy evasive fighters in Earth's crowded skies found the slow-moving Krell ships to be easy targets. Energy weapons that could cut through reinforced bunkers sliced Krell dreadnoughts in half. 8 confirmed kills, Taeyang reported, his voice calm despite the chaos of battle. No damage to our fleet. The Krell tried to adapt. They changed formation, concentrated fire, attempted flanking maneuvers. But they were slow, predictable. Their tactics worked against other galactic species, but humans had evolved dodging predators, hunting prey that could think and adapt. Minho Lee piloted the Indomitable through weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid. His reflexes, honed by years of simulator training and actual combat, moved the ship like it was part of his own body. Other pilots in the fleet did the same, their vessels dancing through the battlefield. They're breaking formation, Jisoo announced. Some ships are retreating. Let them go, Jinwoo ordered. We're here for the planet, not glory. Taeyang, take your team and board that command ship. He highlighted a large Krell vessel on the tactical display. We need intelligence. Find out what their plans are. Understood, Captain. Moving out. Taeyang Choi and his marine team suited up in the armory. Human combat armor was heavy, built to function in environments from deep ocean to hard vacuum. The Marines checked their weapons, designed to kill other humans wearing similar armor. Against the Krell's natural chitin, they would be devastating. The Indomitable pulled alongside the Krell command ship. The aliens fired point blank, but the human vessel's shields held. A docking tube extended, cutting through the Krell hull like it was made of foil. Taeyang was first through the breach. The Krell inside opened fire immediately. Their weapons hit him square in the chest. He didn't even slow down. Human armor was built to stop armor-piercing rounds. The Krell energy weapons barely scratched the surface. Taeyang raised his rifle and fired. The 3-round burst hit a Krell warrior center mass. The alien's natural armor shattered. It went down and didn't get back up. "Move forward," Taeyang commanded. His team flowed through the corridor, their movements precise and coordinated. Every corner was cleared. Every threat was eliminated. The Krell fought desperately, but they had never faced anything like this. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other. They had developed tactics, strategies, weapons, and armor through constant brutal conflict. The Krell conquered peaceful species. They had never fought a true predator before. On the bridge, Jinwoo watched the battle unfold. More Krell ships were retreating now. Half their fleet was destroyed or disabled. The survivors were broadcasting warnings, their communications filled with panic. "Jisoo, what are they saying?" The communications officer listened, her face troubled. "They're calling us demons, Captain. Monsters from the death world. They're warning other Krell forces to avoid this system." "Good. Maybe they'll learn to pick on someone their own size." Jinwoo checked the tactical display again. The immediate orbital space was clearing, but there were still problems. "Yuna, can we start rescue operations?" Dr. Yuna Shin reviewed the medical data coming from the planet's surface. "The Valerians are incredibly fragile by our standards, Captain. What we'd consider a minor injury could kill them. I'm adjusting our medical protocols, but we need to be extremely careful." "Taeyang, status?" "Command center secured, Captain." Taeyang's voice came through clearly despite the chaos around him. "We've captured their battle plans. Sir, this is worse than we thought. The Krell aren't here for resources or territory. They're exterminating the Valerians because they see them as weak. This is ideological." Jinwoo felt cold anger settle in his chest. "Download everything. We're going to need proof when we explain to the galaxy why we destroyed a Krell fleet." "Already on it, Captain." The battle ended 6 hours after it began. 23 Krell ships were destroyed. The rest had fled at maximum speed, broadcasting warnings about the human fleet. Not one human ship was seriously damaged. As rescue operations began, Jinwoo allowed himself a moment of relief. They had saved Valara Prime. They had answered the call for help, but in his gut he knew this was just the beginning. The Krell were a massive empire. They wouldn't forgive this humiliation. They would come back stronger, angrier, and prepared. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The Deathworlders had arrived and nothing would ever be the same. "Captain," Minho said quietly, "I'm picking up energy signatures at the system's edge. Multiple FTL jumps. Sir, I think other species are watching us." "Let them watch," Jinwoo replied. "Maybe they'll see what happens when someone actually answers a call for help." The sky above Valara Prime burned red as the ships descended. Elder Thelnax watched from the observation tower, his 3 eyes wide with confusion and fear. In all his 200 years of life, he had never seen anything like this. The massive, dark vessels hung in the atmosphere like giant insects blocking out the sun. "They're firing again," someone whispered behind him. Thelnax didn't need to be told. He could see the bright lances of energy striking the city below. Buildings that had stood for thousands of years crumbled in seconds. The peaceful streets, where Valerians had walked, talked, and shared ideas, were now rivers of fire and broken stone. The Valerians had no weapons. They never needed them. On their gentle world, violence was something from old stories, myths about barbaric times before civilization. Their society was built on art, music, philosophy, and cooperation. Every problem was solved through discussion and understanding. But the Krell didn't want to discuss anything. They wanted conquest. The insectoid warriors had arrived 3 days ago. Their first message was simple: surrender or die. The Valerian Council tried to negotiate, to understand what the Krell wanted. The response was a plasma beam that vaporized the council chambers and everyone inside. Thelnax survived only because he was in the archives, deep underground, preserving ancient historical records. When he emerged, his world was ending. The Krell moved through the cities like a plague. Their soldiers were enormous, 3 meters tall with thick chitinous armor and mandibles that could crush stone. They herded Valerians into holding pens, treating them like animals. Those who resisted were killed instantly. Those who ran were hunted for sport. The Valerians fled to underground shelters, spaces designed for weather emergencies, not war. They huddled in the dark, parents covering their children's ears to block out the sounds of destruction above. Thelnax made his way through the tunnels to the old government complex. Most of it was destroyed, but he knew about a place others had forgotten. Deep in the sub-basement, behind layers of security, was the Emergency Communication Center. It was built 200 years ago when the Galactic Union still existed before that great coalition fell apart into isolated territories. The center was untouched. Dust covered everything, and the old systems were dark and silent. Thelnax worked through the night, his fingers trembling as he activated power cells that hadn't been used in 2 centuries. He didn't know if the equipment still worked. He didn't know if anyone would hear, but he had to try. The main beacon came online with a soft hum. Screens flickered to life, showing star maps and communication frequencies. Thelnax accessed the emergency protocols, the ones designed for when a civilization faced extinction. He recorded his message in the common galactic language, hoping anyone would understand. This is Valara Prime. We are under attack by the Krell Dominion. Our people are dying. We have no defenses, no weapons, no way to fight back. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we need help. We are peaceful, we mean no harm to anyone. But the Krell are destroying us. Please help us. His voice broke near the end. Thelnax sent the message on every frequency the old system could access. It shot out into space, traveling at the speed of light, a desperate cry into the void. Days passed. The message traveled through empty space, through regions where trade ships once flew, through sectors now abandoned and silent. It passed dead colonies and forgotten outposts. The galaxy, it seemed, had learned to look away from such tragedies. The message entered a region marked on all galactic charts with warning symbols. Quarantine Zone 7. Every species that knew about it stayed far away. The databases were clear. Inside that zone was a yellow star with a blue-green planet. A death world. Class 12, the highest danger rating. The planet had given birth to a predator species that was too violent, too dangerous, too unpredictable. The databases said the planet's very nature was extreme. It had crushing gravity, violent weather, aggressive diseases, an ecosystem filled with creatures that killed to survive. The dominant species had clawed its way to the top through millions of years of warfare against their own world. Most terrifying of all, this species had somehow developed intelligence without losing their predator instincts. They could build ships, split atoms, and create art, but they were still hunters at their core. Every galactic civilization that studied them agreed. Never contact them, never provoke them, never let them leave their world. But the humans were already leaving. They had broken through their own atmosphere, reached their moon, and sent machines to neighboring planets. They had mastered nuclear power and developed computers. The galaxy watched nervously, hoping the quarantine would hold, praying that the Deathworlders would stay home. Then Thelnax's message arrived. It was detected first by a deep space monitoring station in lunar orbit. The technician on duty, a young woman named Jisoo Han, almost deleted it as background noise. But something made her pause. She ran the signal through translation protocols. The message appeared on her screen, and Jisoo's eyes widened. She immediately routed it to Earth Command. Within an hour, the message was playing in emergency sessions across Earth's governments. The United Earth Council convened. Military commanders watched the star charts. Scientists analyzed the alien language. Linguists worked to understand every word. For 3 days, Earth debated. Some said humanity wasn't ready for galactic contact. Others worried about the quarantine designation they found in the signal's metadata. Someone out there feared humans. Should Earth really announce its presence? By charging into an alien war? But others argued differently. Captain Jinwoo Kang of the Korean Space Navy stood before the council and spoke with quiet intensity. They asked for help, he said. That's all we need to know. Yes, we're new to space. Yes, we're dangerous. But we're also the only ones who answered. What does it say about us if we hear someone dying and we do nothing? The council voted. The mission was approved. 12 warships prepared for immediate departure. Every vessel Earth had that could travel faster than light. Every trained crew. Every Marine, pilot, and engineer who volunteered for what might be a one-way trip. They called it the Predator Fleet, not knowing that was exactly what the galaxy called human military forces. On the KSNS Indomitable, Captain Jinwoo Kang watched his crew make final preparations. Chief Engineer Hana Park ran checks on the FTL drive. Combat Specialist Taeyang Choi inspected weapon systems. Dr. Yuna Shin prepared the medical bay. Navigator Minho Lee plotted courses through unknown space. And Jisoo Han, the woman who first heard the cry for help, worked on translation algorithms. Captain, Jisoo said quietly, I analyzed their language structure. They have no word for war, no word for weapon, no word for kill. Jinwoo absorbed this information. Then we'll teach them those words if we have to. Or better yet, we'll make sure they never need to learn them. The Predator Fleet launched from Earth orbit, 12 ships carrying humanity's hopes and fears into the unknown galaxy. Behind them, Earth waited. Ahead of them, Valara Prime burned, and across the galaxy, ancient sensors registered the movement of ships from the quarantine zone. Warnings began to spread through what remained of galactic civilization. The Deathworlders were coming.